Okay, so let's jump right into mini section 2 of this lab. Open up Pro through your project folder the way I showed you. I already have mine open, okay? And this is where we should all be, okay? We should have our folder with our boundaries. We should have our Texas-based layout. So we're good to go. Now, we want to get our transportation data, okay? And in order to do that, we are going to go online to the USGS site. And so I'm going to come over here. Now, if you don't have this bookmarked, come to Blackboard, all right, and go to links to GIS data and click on, or I like to right click and open link in new tab so it doesn't close things down, and then turn this on, okay? And once again, I want to reiterate just how valuable this site is for natural resource data and political data boundaries is what I mean by that, dealing with the United States. Okay, this is all done by the United States Geological Survey, all right, and over the course of 150 years, they have really compiled an incredible amount of very high quality data about our country. All right, so what we are going to do is look for a data set that delineates the major interstates and state highways in the country, okay? So if we went here to transportation, okay, and we got our state data, you can see just from this image here, this is literally going to include this data set even has alleys and bike trails. So that's just way too much for what we need. And keep that in mind. You don't want to download more than you need. You don't want your project to be bloated with a ton of data that you're not using, okay? Because then it's hard for it to sync. It's just hard to move around when it's bloated, okay? I think we get the drift. All right, so we're going to turn that one off, and I want you to look at this fella here. Small scale data sets. Okay, what the heck does that mean? All right, it's very weird. And really, the best way to understand it is if I zoom into Wyoming here, okay, it's big, all right? And so if I look for data, because remember, it's going to search based on what's in this screen over here. So if I look for data on Wyoming, it's going to find me very detailed data about this area. But if I zoom out, now look at how small Wyoming is. And I know this sounds silly, but this is really the way it means. Wyoming is at a smaller scale, okay? So that's what they mean by small scale. So you're not going to get all this detailed data, but sometimes that's great, okay? Because you don't want all that extra data. So let's open up small scale data sets, okay? So you can get your boundaries for the whole country, okay? But without every last town that has 13 people in it. This is a really cool one. You can get your contour lines for the entire country. You can get your hydrography. And obviously what we want is our transportation, okay? We will come back for hydrography, just not now. Okay, so let's leave this at national. Now remember what I said before, never get shapefiles, okay? They will mess up your project especially when you go to sync with the cloud. Okay, so choose your file geodatabase. And just so it's not looking for data up in Canada and Mexico, I'm going to zoom in to the US. Okay, and then I am going to come over here and scroll to the top and choose search products. Okay, great. So we have our, if I zoom out, when I hover over this, so you can see, it looks like this one even covers Alaska, and then this one just covers, I think, oh, this is the railroads. So we have major roads and railroads. So before I download these, let's go to our downloads folder, and let's make sure this is nice and cleaned up. I know I don't need that folder, it's actually empty. Okay, so have a nice clean downloads folder. Come back here and let's download both of these fellas. Okay, see, that's not a very big data set, only 27 megabytes, and it's all the major roads in the US. Okay, now let's download our choo-choos, and again, very nice. Okay, so thank you USGS once again. I'm going to close out of you, close this guy down. All right, so remember how I like to do this, and you may find a better way. So I like to dock this Explorer window to the right, and to do that I hold down the Windows key and I tap the right mouse button. Okay, now I need another File Explorer window here. So I hold down the Windows key and I tap E. Okay, and let's dock that on the left. Now you can just peel it down with your left mouse button and just bang it over there and it'll work fine. All right, let's navigate to our project. And that looks like road. Okay, well, they're both going to go into transportation. So let's double click on this. And remember, we're going to come up here and we're going to select that and hold down Control and tap C to copy that address. Now let's come over to our right Explorer, click on this fella, extract all, and just Control V to paste the address we want it to go to, and then just click extract, and there are your roads. Okay, now click on this again and delete it, and then just rinse and repeat. Extract all, Control V, extract, and there you go. Now come over here and delete that. And I like to close out of everything I'm not working on. Okay, so now let us open our folders. Let's twirl open the boundaries. Now let's open transportation. If you don't see anything, right click, choose refresh. And let's add our roads first. Okay, so we will simply drag and hold down our left mouse and put that under our boundaries. Okay, great. So for right now, I'm gonna turn off the boundaries group so we can just work with this guy. And what I like to do often when I get a new layer is see, okay, what kind of attributes does it have? Okay. And so I right click and I go to the attribute table, and it looks like they have, then there's this area called pre-type. Let's right click on that and choose sort ascending. And so when you get a new data set, you want to explore what it's all about. okay? Because this isn't really telling you anything. Everything is symbolized the same way, and there should be a lot more to this. What I'm really looking, and here we go. So this is the attribute that we are going to want to work with, called pretype, because it has interstates, it has the state routes and the US routes, okay? So let's remember that pretype, and then of course it's going to have a name in there, and also something called a prime name. Okay, so I'm going to write that down on my notebook. Pretype. Okay, so let us sort this by ascending, and what I'm gonna do, actually, let's just make 3 separate feature classes for these different categories. So this is a good time for you to see how you can select a number of features without hand selecting them like we did in the last class. Okay, so we can clear that selection this way. So we're going to select by attribute. Okay, so remember, these are your attributes. Okay, so this is the input table. It's a new selection, and the field is going to be this pretype. Okay, and we're going to say it's equal to, all right, and what we're going to do first is interstate. Okay, and what's cool is they give you the different categories that are in this column. So let's do interstate. All right, and let's choose OK. And there we go. We got our interstates. Now come on over here to your layer, right click, data, export features. Okay, and choose OK. All right, now open up your geodatabase and gently click on this and just call this oops, I have my caps lock on, interstates. Okay, nice. Now we can clear this selection. Okay, and now we're going to do this again. Select by attribute. Pretype is equal to state route. Okay, and let's hit apply and see what opens up here. Okay, we got a whole lot of stuff. So let's choose US route. Okay, and let's hit apply. Yeah, that's, and you know what, let me see the difference. I think these overlap a little bit. Interstate, apply. Yeah, so we're going to choose US route and leave it at that. Now remember, we're not building a transportation map. We're giving people an idea of where the major roads are, just so they can locate themselves in our map. Okay, so I hit US route, and that's, and then interstate. Okay, let me cancel. Sorry, guys. Okay, I saw what the problem was. The selection feature in this software is what some people refer to as sticky. It doesn't automatically turn off when you turn a new selection on. So what we have to do when we want to change what we want to select is just come over here, and if that's hidden, you can move this window over. You can come over here, click clear, and now let us pick US route. Okay, and click OK. All right, now we're going to come over here again. All right. Not that fella, sorry. Down here. And we will right click on this. Okay, remember, this is what we just exported, and those are the interstates, okay? I really should have named those first to avoid confusion. But keep in mind, we're working with this layer down here. And this layer, okay, is represented geographically here. And then you can see the exact same name is here. So, geographic information. Okay, so right click on this, and we're going to go to Data, Export Features, and click, let's call this Export Features. So click on here, and just at the end, just click to, or just click US. Oh, don't put a space in there. Just put USR for US routes, and we'll rename it in a bit. And then click OK. All right, so let's close out of our attribute table. Let's remove our original file. Before we do that, we can come up to Edit, clear our selection. Let's remove this guy. Okay. That's a lot cleaner. All right, and then we are gonna call this fella, if you just gently click on it, interstates. Okay, and then just gently click on this one, and we're gonna call this US routes. Okay, so the interstates would be up here. And I'd like you to click on interstates, and if you notice, they already have pre-made symbols for you, and one of them is called highway. So why don't we just click on that, and let's zoom in. Okay, so there's a lot of segments here that are getting joined together, and it gets a little funky. All right, so let's come over to Properties, and let's decrease that to 3. And then in here under the layers of the properties, we don't need 2 strokes. Okay, so let's turn this one off. There we go. All right, now we're talking. Okay, so this is at 2 points, 2 and whatever. That's kind of wacky. Let's make this 2.5. Okay, good. Okay, let's hold down Control and hit S. We're doing good work. Want to save it. Okay, now let's take a look at our, well, first, why don't we name or symbolize the names of these routes? Okay, so we're going to click on interstates, and we are going to come up to labeling. Okay, and what we're going to do is click on this very bottom arrow here. Okay, and they're going to have some ready-made symbols for us. Okay, these are ones that I saved, and we'll do that ourselves later on. But if you go all the way to the bottom, you're going to see these shields. Okay, so let's click on this one, shield 1. Let's see how that works out for us. Okay, and let's go to labeling, and we need to turn it on. So click on this tag at the end, and you can see that the software is currently drawing these labels for us. Okay, so let me hit pause while it's doing that. Oh, okay, here they just popped in. Okay, so it's a mess, and labels can be tedious, but let us go through this, and this is probably going to be one of the toughest ones. So what we're going to do is right click on interstates and we're going to go to labeling properties. Okay, it gives you a lot more options. All right, and let's go to position, and under regular placement, let's choose street placement. Okay. And let's choose this may place label horizontal and centered on street. Okay, and under offset straight, we want it to be centered straight. Okay, and it's still drawing here. Let me go up to this labeling as well, because I think there might be one shield. God, sorry guys. So right there, boom, shield. And let me pause while it draws. Oops. Okay, so this is, oh, I really zoomed in there. Okay. So now, obviously, we have way too many of these guys. And what I'd like you to do is head over to your layout. And we're going to see what this is going to look like on your actual map. Okay. And so, just give it a second to draw. Okay, so now what we want to do is minimize the number of shields we have, okay? And so if we come over here to, let's see, fitting strategy, I'm sorry, where the heck is the, yes, this last one. Okay, so conflict resolution, remove duplicate labels. We are going to remove them within a fixed distance, okay? And this is why I brought us into paper space, is because you know this is 2 feet by 2 feet, okay? And so let's change this to inches and inches, and we're going to tell it to that the minimum interval in between these symbols should be at the most, let's say, 10 inches. I think that would be, let's make it 8. Because actually, state of Texas there is snug in that map. Okay, so it's drawing. Okay, so here are the settings that I came up with. Why don't you just pause the video, make sure that you start at the top and make sure you're on the right tab. Okay, so you're going to be in position and then conflict resolution, and then just follow these. Labeling can be pretty tricky. All right. Now, when you're done with that, hold down Control, tap S. Did a lot of hard work. And we're not going to do US routes because this is probably going to be enough for us just to help people get located. Okay, so let's twirl these closed, and we're not going to even worry about railroads right now because, again, it's a little bit extraneous, but we do have that data if we want it. So hold down Shift to select both of these, right click, group, and click on that, and just call this transportation. Okay, so far so good. Now remember, let's keep our hierarchy so the boundaries always go at the top. All right, and we're only going to have one more mini section for this lab because these first two were long, but we're getting this this base map template and layout done, and that's gonna help us dramatically as we create our various maps coming up throughout this project. Okay, I'll see you in the next mini section.